Hello, I'm Danny the Guide, and are you ready for today's London snippet of history? Well, today we're going to travel into a very familiar area to a few called Covent Garden. Today, a bustling place for boutique shopping, markets, drinking, and food. However, in the 1500s, this land belonged to Westminster Abbey. It was part of their monastic lands and therefore called Covent Garden. But in the 1530s, when King Henry VIII broke away from the Roman Catholic Church and created the Anglican Church, the Church of England, he dissolved all the Catholic affiliated monasteries and therefore took back this land. It wasn't until the 1630s, 100 years later, that the fourth Earl of Bedford, Francis Russell, decided to renovate the land. He wanted to create an open-spaced piazza, based like that in Rome, to be here in London. And the man for the job was Welsh architect Inigo Jones. At the very end of the square, he was going to put a church, and that was the case for most squares in England at the time, and you can still see this in the way that they work. So the church is what we are going to be focusing on today, and it's called St. Paul's Church. The image that you see here of the church, it used to be the front. If you look into the middle, you can see a boarded up door. And this is because Inigo Jones built it the wrong way round, because the front to us is actually the back. You see, in church architecture, your altar has to be facing eastwards, so the entrance must be at the west. But when St. Paul's opened in 1633, that was not the case. The altar was in the west and the entrance was in the east, so they had to shut it down, board it up, and change out its layout. So now you will see the altar in the east, and therefore you must enter through the west, which is now known as the back. This is the picture that you will see as you enter the church. Now, not only that, what makes St. Paul's Church very interesting is that when Inigo Jones was asked to build it, his influences all stemmed from Roman architecture. But the fourth Earl of Bedford, Francis Russell, was a Puritan, and he said to Inigo Jones, "Make it as plain as a barn." Now this went against the fabric of Inigo Jones' style of architecture, so he said, "I shall build you the grandest barn in the whole of England." And that's why it looks the way that it does. But that's not to say it looks like a barn inside, because inside you can see its beauty. Today, the church is known as the Actors' Church, and this is because it sits bang smack in the centre of Theatreland, what is also known as the West End. This is where theatre starts, begins and ends, and this is the very church that actors would come to should they need to seek some solitude and feel the spiritual need of God. As such, many famous actors have gone through the West End and have had an amazing association with the area, and therefore when they die, a memorial plaque is erected in their honour. Take for example the silent film star Charlie Chaplin. Born in London in Lambeth, grew up in desolate poverty, but when travelling to America, hit the big time and became a silent movie star. One of his most famous roles being that of the Tramp. And when he passed away in 1977, a plaque was unveiled to commemorate him and his work. You also have one of the most prolific and outstanding Shakespearean actors of the late 19th century and early 20th century, a woman, Ellen Terry. Her ashes are actually behind a grill where her plaque is, and when she died in 1928, that's when they were unveiled. She's famous for bringing the women of Shakespeare to life, and it's thought that Shakespeare needed to have seen how his women could actually be portrayed by a woman for such a calibre as Ellen. But I'm going to talk to you now about an actor you may never have heard of, Charles Macklin, one of the biggest sensations of the 18th century theatre life. He was a headliner, he was big, he was huge, and he came with an attitude. Now in 1735, Charles Macklin was in his dressing room when one of the lowly actors called Thomas Hallam had put on a wig and was about to go outside to go on stage, when Charles Macklin stopped him and said, "Oi, that's my wig, take it off your head." And Thomas Hallam replied with, "No, it's my wig." 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 And this went back and forth until out the corner of his eye, Charles Macklin saw his cane, picked it up and thrusts it through the eye of the other gentleman. Thomas Hallam is lying there with a stick through his eye, and it's said that Macklin actually peed on the wound to try and heal it. But it didn't work, it was to no avail, and Thomas Hallam, rushed to Charing Cross Hospital, died. Now in 1735, Charles Macklin may have been the biggest thing since sliced bread in terms of theatre, but he was not above the law. He was put up on a murder trial, and he refused to take representation, defending himself. And he was acquitted. He went on to have a successful comedic career, dying at the age of 107, according to his plaque. Now his wife at the time was very much younger than he was, and she must have had a very macabre sense of humour, because now I want you to take a very close look at the plaque that was erected to commemorate Charles Macklin. So you see, it may just be a snippet, but I hope it has intrigued you to come to London, find out more and explore. I'm Danny the Guide. I hope you've enjoyed this video on St Paul's the Actors Church, and if you did enjoy it, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel. I hope to see you in London soon.